What's up guys, Kyle with Legends Boxing, and today we're going to talk about a jab. This is just going to be our basic jab. We're not going to go too deep into different kinds of jabs or too much on what you're using the jab for, but we're going to talk about a quality jab, things to avoid, and go over some drills and techniques to practice while you're working out to help you improve your jab. All right guys, so let's go into what we consider to be a quality jab, okay? So I'm gonna demonstrate this as an orthodox or right-handed boxer. I'm actually left-handed, so bear with me, but we'll do this. So first things first, I'm gonna get into my fighting stance, my boxing stance, good shoulder width, toes at 2 o'clock, bend the knees, on my back toe, okay? So what I'm gonna focus on really when I'm throwing this jab, kind of the mechanics of my body, staying loose, pay attention to my shoulder, elbow, and targeting with my knuckles, okay? So when I'm throwing a jab, I'm gonna kind of turn right here. This is a relatively quick punch. I wanna make sure I'm not dropping it before I throw it. I'm not getting too comfortable whipping it up, then throwing it. I'm just gonna shoot it straight off my chin. So I'm gonna take this lead hand, I'm gonna turn it straight off my body, turning it, rotating it, getting the shoulder up into my cheek, looking down that knuckle at my target, trying to isolate these two knuckles with that jab. I'm gonna get a slight turn of my body into this punch. I could step into the jab, I could turn my body into the jab, step and slightly rotate the foot, but the mechanics of the upper body maintain the same. See, I'm kind of getting my hip into it. So again, you're gonna take your lead hand up here at the chin, turning it straight out, turning that fist over, shoulder is up into your cheek. This is gonna provide defense for your face, okay? A lot of people get comfortable throwing that jab like this, with the chin out, and it starts to fall as well. It's not going up, not targeting eye or face level. So make sure you guys are practicing this. You're turning it straight out, shoulders coming up in your cheek, and you're bringing it straight back the same way it came. Turning it straight out, bringing it straight back. Nice, loose, and relaxed with that jab. So that's gonna be our quality, solid jab. That's gonna be our base, okay? Let's talk about some things you don't wanna make habit, some verbs to know when it comes to jabs. So we're gonna start out with rowing. So that's a term I use, like you think about rowing a boat, those big swooping motions. What I consider to be rowing a jab is when someone turns that jab out and they bring it back like this. So again, they turn it out and they're not bringing it straight back to their chin. It's kind of doing this swimming or rowing motion, okay? So that's rowing. We want to avoid that. We don't want to row, okay? We want that punch straight out, straight back, straight out, straight back, straight out, straight back. Even if I go to the body, straight out, straight back. Not sweeping or rowing that punch, okay? The next one's going to be telegraphing. Think about a telegraph. It's like sending a message, right? A lot of times with telegraphing a jab is either gonna be this kind of a motion, pulling it back to throw it to try and get power behind it, or dropping it and then throwing it. Those are things experienced boxers can see from a mile away, and they mess with your ability to throw a solid jab and land it effectively, okay? Again, with that jab, I don't wanna give any inclination that that's about the punch I'm about to throw. So I wanna keep it quick, sharp, straight off the chin. Okay, and the last one I want to talk about is flaring. Okay, I use this term to describe mostly your elbow, right? When someone throws a jab, if you guys can see with the camera, as you turn this punch out, my arm's not coming in a wide loop. It's a relatively straight shot with our standard jab. Flaring is when someone's elbow is coming out and then they're kind of chopping at it, right? Like this. Elbows chopping, you know, that can be pretty compared to telegraphing, honestly, right? So we want to make sure this elbow's not coming out wide, we're not chopping at it. We want to be straight down the pipe with that jab, turning the fist over and turning your body into that punch. So it's straight down the middle, right? I'm not flaring that elbow out. It's not turning kind of into a hook. It's a nice, straight, quick, solid punch. Comes back like a yo-yo, okay? So those are some things to know and what we're gonna consider to be a quality jab going into these drills. So first things first, one thing to understand about the jab is it can get exhausting. It is a very high volume punch that you can throw. If you watch any boxing match, they'll literally keep track. And the volume of jabs thrown versus other punches is insane. So conditioning is essential. So as you're doing these drills that you're about to learn in these next several videos, this is something that I encourage you do periodically to gauge your progress and track and see this number go up. To help you, ultimately with your progress with your jab. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do a minute timer, right, is what I'm gonna do, and we're gonna see how many quality jabs we can throw in a minute, okay? So again, talking about a quality jab, things like this, that's not a quality jab, right? These little taps, these big pushes, again, not a very quality jab. I wanna take all those steps we just learned and now apply it to making contact. I'm gonna treat this bag like a hot piece of metal, meaning the second I make contact, I'm also recoiling that hand back just as quick as I possibly can, okay? So I'm gonna do my quality jab. Okay, so quality jab. Now my next thing is I'm gonna set that minute timer and I wanna see how many quality jabs I can throw in 1 minute. That's it. Have a good solid pace. The second it comes back to your chin, shoot it back out. If you need to take a break, that's fine. Take a break. This is how you're going to measure your progress over the period of time you're gonna be working these drills in your classes or on the bag at home. For our first drill, we're gonna talk about weighted shadow boxing, stabilized shadow boxing, and also same thing and applying it to the bag. So one of the first things you're gonna do is honestly just work your jab, right? You gotta get comfortable throwing it, being loose with it. I recommend doing this in front of a mirror. I don't have a mirror, so I'm gonna do it right here. So I'm gonna work on shadow boxing my jab. That is my entire focus right now, okay? It's just my one. So I've got one weight here. When it comes to doing weighted shadow boxing, do not go heavy. I highly recommend, like, there really isn't any reason to go above like 5 pounds. Right? Even 5 pounds is kind of heavy because then you start developing a push motion instead of a loose, quick snap. So when I'm practicing my shadow boxing, I'm gonna have a weight in hand, my other hand nice and tight, just relaxed. And I can be practicing things like tempo changes, right? A tempo change is where I'm changing the rhythm of that jab. One of the head, one of the body, one, okay? Making it inconsistent. I can work defense in my shadow boxing. When I'm throwing a jab, slipping a jab, throw a jab, slip, slip, throw a jab, pull, jab, jab. Okay, I can implement that head movement and that defensive aspect into my jab as well. So now we're gonna get into kind of the stabilized portion. What I mean stabilize is, oftentimes as people are working their jab, they get so focused on this arm that they start creating bad habits here with their trail hand. So they throw that jab and this hand starts falling down, comes down here. Or the elbow comes away like this, exposing the body. So what I'm gonna do, if you have a spare glove somewhere, I'm gonna take a glove or a mitt, a towel, a tennis ball, a pool noodle, you can get creative. I'm gonna take it, and I'm gonna jam it right here underneath my elbow. Okay, so I'm gonna have 2 points of contact. I'm gonna be relaxed, but I'm gonna put my hand and my thumb right here into my cheek, then elbow pinning my glove. And I'm gonna practice my shadow boxing, making sure my hand doesn't come wide. I can slip, I can work tempo, I can work defense and footwork, all the while working and practicing that jab. If I'm getting too loose with this hand, I drop the glove. That tells me I need to work on that. You can also take that stabilized shadow boxing approach and apply it to the heavy bag as well. You can take both your gloves, my right glove, and my left glove. Actually, I don't need to put that right on. Fix that real quick. Just take this one off. And I can work the bag while holding one glove. Work on my tempo, level changes, head, body, one. All the while keeping this stabilized and tight to my body. You can try this out with your shadow boxing or your bag work. Helps you get that really fundamental form and technique behind your jab. One of my next drills to help us out with our jab is the modified ollie shuffle, is what we call it. Now, real quick, I know people are gonna go, well, that's not the ollie shuffle, and that's okay. This is just a basic footwork drill. We just call it the ollie shuffle at our gym. That really helps people and beginners really establish moving their feet correctly and in a good distance, okay? So our regular ollie shuffle is just forward, back, left, right, and then followed by a burpee. This is gonna be our modified ollie shuffle to help us with our jab. So how we're gonna do this, I'm in my fighter stance, my boxing stance, and I'm gonna push off my back foot to my front foot, throwing the jab at the same time. As you can see, my lead foot makes contact with the ground the second this jab is all the way extended outwards, right? Now just to mirror that to a target, if I were hitting a target and stepping into that jab, my foot would make contact the same time my fist hits the bag, okay? So with this modified ollie shuffle, what I'm gonna do, and I can also do this stabilized like we talked about, or with a weight, but I'm gonna go forward, back, left, right, and then I'm gonna work some head movement. I'm gonna go slip, slip, roll, roll. And I'm gonna repeat that for time. Set yourself a minute timer. You can give yourself repetitions as well. Forward, back, left, right, slip, slip, roll, roll. I can make it more dynamic by adding additional steps or increasing my speed. Forward, forward, back, back, left, left, right, right, slip, slip, roll, roll. Really good exercise, really helps with the proprioception of your hand and your feet as you're stepping into those jabs and moving. For our next drill, this is great for technique if you practice proper technique with this drill. And it's also great for conditioning. I call these resistance band jabs, where I'm gonna show you guys a push and a pull version in this. So all you're gonna need is a resistance band. You can tie it around a post like this, a pole in your backyard, a stud in your basement, or you can even use a resistance band like this. That's just a little bit more free and stretchy. So I'm gonna show you the push and pull version of this. So how this is gonna work, you can set this up again for time, right? So you can limit yourself for the amount of time you can do this, or you can limit it for repetitions as well, doing like 3 sets of 30, right? Or 5 sets of 100. However, you can pace yourself with this or what you're comfortable with doing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a resistance band like this. I'm gonna work the push version first, the actual concentric motion of throwing that jab, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this resistance band right here. I'm gonna put it underneath my arm. You can grab it by the handle, or you can even, I'm gonna ball it up right here so I can get a good grip on it. I'm gonna step away so I create tension. One of the reasons I like a resistance band over top of like a weight for working this is because a resistance band, the tension increases the farther it stretches, right? So it really helps hit a lot of those muscles in your shoulder and help you develop that stability as well. So as I'm throwing this jab, I'm gonna do good technique. I'm not just gonna throw crappy techniques. I'm gonna train crappy technique. And whether I've set this up for 3 sets of 10 or some set of time, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna practice a good solid jab for repetitions on this push. The farther I step away this resistance band, the harder it is. You don't want it to get to the point that you feel like you're pushing it though, okay? You want a good, snappy, tight, turning it over, making that fist, following through, bringing it back to your chin. Shoulders burning already. So that's the push version. You can also do this with a resistance band like this, coming underneath your arms, in your hands, turning it out here as well, if you don't have something to attach it to. Then we have the pull version. So that's the pulling motion, right, of that jab. What we're gonna do is essentially the same thing. Got it right here. I'm just gonna ball it up my hands a little bit so I don't have to step so far away from the post. And I'm gonna extend it out as if I threw my jab. About right here. So I've thrown the jab. Now I'm gonna work on a quick pulling motion, getting it back with my whole body and my hand. It's good to trade these off. So do 10 this way, where you're pushing the jab, snapping it. And then a couple this way, where you're pulling the jab. That's gonna help develop quick recall of that punch, and also a quick sharp snap and conditioning in the shoulders to be able to throw that jab for a duration of time. All right, guys, coming at you with another jab conditioning drill. This is one I invented myself. I make a lot of my guys that spar do this one to help them with their jab conditioning, and also just my regular members. I do this one myself. I gotta work on my jab all the time. Everyone should be working on their jab. So this is called tens, right? So everything is gonna be done in increments of 10 times 10. So one set of tens ends up being 100 jabs. So how you're gonna do the basic version of this, again, you want a quality jab, but you also want to push yourself, okay? You wanna really, really step outside that comfort zone of your typical jab and your volume. So with this, what I'm gonna do with tens is I'm gonna throw 10 solid, good quality jabs as fast as I can. Okay, so I'm gonna do my 10 jabs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I'm gonna take 5 seconds. And I'm gonna do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm gonna take 5 seconds. I'm gonna do that 10 times. That is one set of 10s. So if you do like 10s times 3, it ends up being 300 jabs, right? 10 times 10, 10 sets, 5-second rest in between. Ways you can make this just a little bit more dynamic and challenging. You can do one set of 10s to the body. So I can go my 10 jabs to the head and then immediately follow it up with 10 jabs to the body. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. I can also alternate it. I can go 10 to, or my 10 jabs, 5 head, 5 body, alternating. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And do that for my sets. Again, I'm out of breath right now. You want to push past your comfort zone. Be quick, be snappy, get those punches out there as fast as you can in that 10-second period without breaking form. If you notice that your form's starting to go out the window, jabs are falling, slow it down. Make sure we're still practicing good form, good technique, and you're pushing yourself during that threshold. All right, guys, thank you for taking the time to watch this video on our basic jab and basic jab drills. One thing to note, ultimately, this is gonna be based on your execution, is how you're gonna measure your progress. If you do these drills in proper form and proper technique, you may not get the progress and the results you want. Keep in mind, technique is still the fundamental focus during these, so you want that to be your top priority when practicing each of these drills. I highly recommend getting a coach to watch you or help you with these to make sure you're doing them correctly, doing the shadow boxing in a mirror, and starting slow, right? It may be quick to just jump right into it and let's go, let's go, let's go. But if you take your time with these and kind of walk before you run, so to speak, you're gonna ultimately see progress down the road. I recommend implementing this over a month's time and really taking the time to focus and work on the jab. And with proper recovery and proper training, I see these being very beneficial to your boxing.